This video is on solving systems of equations using quadratics and linear functions. I've already done the other examples, the explanation of them. Now I'm going to do the two U-try problems. This one is a linear quadratic and this one is quadratic. I'm also going to show you something to do in your calculator. So you might want to have your calculator ready. So going back to understanding how to do this by hand, we want to make sure they're both equal to y. These are both equal to y. That means I can set them both equal to each other. We have x squared minus x minus 6 is equal to 2x minus 2. Now since it is a quadratic, I want to get my quadratic equal to 0. So I have an x squared, no x squared on this side. I have a negative x and a 2x. I need to subtract the 2x. So I have an x squared minus a 3x. And then we're going to add the 2 to the other side, which gives us a negative 4 equals to 0. Now I can try and factor this. I know 1 times 4 gives me 4, and 1 minus 4 gives me the negative 3. So that will be my numbers. X minus 4, and then x plus 1 equals to 0. My two x values will be x equals a positive 4, and then x equals a negative 1. So what we want to do is get the coordinate by plugging these values in. I'm going to do this by hand, and I'm going to show you how to do this in the calculator. So I'm going to do the x equals 4 first. So x equals 4. I'm just writing it up here up on the side so I know that's what I'm doing. Y equals parentheses 4 parentheses squared minus parentheses 4 parentheses minus 6. That's 16 minus 4 minus 6 is equal to a positive 6. Then we have y equals 2 parentheses 4 parentheses minus 2. That's 8 minus 2 is 6. So it is 4 and 6. So I have a coordinate of 4, 6 is a solution. I'm going to do the same thing with the negative 1. X equals negative 1. So we have y equals parentheses negative 1 parentheses squared minus parentheses negative 1 parentheses minus 6. So we have 1 plus 1 minus 6, which is equal to a negative 4. And we have y equals 2 parentheses negative 1 parentheses minus 2. This is negative 2 minus 2, which is also equal to a negative 4. Since these are both the same, our other coordinate is negative 1, negative 4. These are our two solutions. I do want to show you how to do this in the calculator with this part, not graphing it, but showing you how to do something different in the calculator. We have the x values. I just want to make sure that my y values give me the same value. So instead of typing all of this in or plugging all of that in, I can actually do it a different way. So using the calculator, I'm going to store values for x. You do not have to do this. You can continue writing it like this, parentheses 4 parentheses squared minus 4 parentheses, minus parentheses 4 parentheses minus 6. And you still get that positive 6 out. So you still get the same answer. However, I want to show you how you can store the x value of 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the button 4. Then on my calculator, I'm going to press this STO button. It's the store button. So I'm just going to press this button. And my calculator looks like this. It has an arrow. What this is telling me is that I want to put 4 into something. I want to put it in for the x. So I'm going to press this x button right here. Now it's saying I want to put the 4 in for the x. So when I press enter, I'm going to press enter. Every time I press x on this screen, we'll type out 4. So if I press x, press enter, I get 4. If I say 2x, which 2 times 4 is 8, I should get 8 out of this. It gives me 8. The reason we're doing this is because now I can just type the equation in as it says without having to type in the parentheses. So I'm literally going to type in x squared minus x minus 6. And I get that equals to 6. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to have 2x minus 2. and I also get 6. So since these are the same, I see that that would be my y value of my coordinate. I can do the same thing for the x equals -1. Now I'm going to redo this. I'm not going to clear anything. I'm just going to show you how to do this. I'm going to type in my new x value, so I'm going to type in -1. All I do is type in -1. Then I'm going to press the STO button. So I have my arrow up there, and I want to store it in for the x again. I want to restore it for the x. I'm going to press enter. Now, instead of us seeing the 4 when I type in x, I'm going to see the -1. So if I press x, I get that -1 out of there. Now I can just retype in those equations to see what my y values are. So x squared minus x minus 6. We get a -4, which is what we had gotten. So let's type in the second one, 2x minus 2. Enter. Also gives me -4. So again, that tells us the correct solution. This was just storing it into your calculator. It's just a way to do that. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to press clear. Just press clear. If I press X again, I still have that -1 in there. So if I press clear, if I want to get that X out of there, I can clear my calculator by doing second plus the memory. I want to reset it. I want to go to my all. I want to reset everything. I'm going to press all memory. And then I just want to actually press reset. It will delete the programs and anything that I have archived. So it's going to reset all. But the reason we're doing this is so that the x value does not contain that -1 any longer. Normally you can't put anything on x's on your home screen anyway, so it won't affect it unless you are storing something. So now if I press X, this is what it normally says. X is 0, which is why you do not type in X on the home screen unless you actually have something stored. So coming down here, we're going to do this problem by hand again. So this is 2 quadratics. We have -x squared plus 2x plus 5 equals x squared plus 18x plus 35. On this one, I have a -x squared and a +x squared. I want to put everything to a +x squared, so I'm actually going to move all of this to this side. So I'll have 0 equals, because I know that's what it'll end up being. I'm going to add the x squared to x squared. I have 2x squared. I'm going to subtract the 2x from the 18x. I have +16x. I'm going to subtract the 5 from the 35, so I have +30. Now I want to factor this. GCF is 2, left with x squared plus 8x plus 15. Factored again, 2 parentheses x plus 3 and x plus 5. Our two solutions are the x equals -3 and x equals -5. So again, we want to plug in our x values to get our y's. So for the x equals this -3, I'm going to write it in with the y's the same way we were doing, then I'm going to use my calculator for the other one. So I have y equals -3 parentheses squared plus 2 parentheses -3 parentheses plus 5. If I just type that into my calculator just to get this value, I'll get a -10. For the other one, y equals parentheses -3 parentheses squared plus 18 parentheses -3 parentheses plus 35. If I type that in, that will also give me a -10. So we do have the same -10 value. So we know that our one solution is -3, -10. Now I want to do the same thing. So I can again type in, just again to show, negative parentheses -3 parentheses squared plus 2 parentheses -3 parentheses plus 5. I get that -10. Now instead I could have done -3 store for the x. Press enter. Now I'm just going to type in the actual original problem. -x squared plus 2x plus 5. I get the negative 10. And then I can also type in the x squared plus 18x plus 35. And I get the negative 10 again. So this time I want to do the negative 5 since I haven't solved for that one. So I want to restore. So I just do negative 5. I just type in negative 5 and I press store again. Store the x button. Press enter. Now I can just retype this in, or if you have a specific calculator, you can go back up and get those equations again. You can also, on any TI graphing calculator, you can press second, enter. So if I press second and enter once, that's the thing I just typed in. I don't want that. I want my equations, which are up here. So I can press second, enter again, which gives me the equation that we had up here. I can get that one, but I want the other one first. So I'm going to press second, enter again, and that's my first equation, the negative x squared plus 2x plus 5. That's what I want. Now I can press enter, and I get negative 30. So if I want to, I can go and get the second equation. So I'll press second, enter, not the one I want because that's what I just did. Second, enter, not the one I want because that's storing it. Second, enter, gives me that x squared plus 18x plus 35. I can press enter on that one now, just enter, and I get negative 30. So we get the negative 30 when we type in the negative 5. That means our solution is negative 5, comma, negative 30. So we have two solutions, negative 3, negative 10, and negative 5, negative 30. So again, I still could have just typed in the negative 5 inside the parentheses, and it would have given me the same answer.